apologize.
Are you ready? Okay. We'll call the meeting of the Oroville City Planning Commission to order. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Flicker, Commissioner Britton, Commissioner Chapman,
Here.
Commissioner Jenkins, Commissioner Sears,
Here.
Commissioner Durling, Chairperson Robison.
Here. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Excuse me. Okay. Looks like we only have applicants here tonight. If there's anyone here other than the applicants who wish to address any items on the agenda, please fill out a blue card and hand them in to the clerk. Moving on to public comments, this is an opportunity for members of the public who wish to speak to the Planning Commission on any issues that regard the Planning Commission but are not on the agenda. Is there anyone here who wishes to do so? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval minutes. We have the minutes from October 24th, 2019 and October 29th, 2019.
I'll move approval.
There's a motion for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions as to the motion or changes? Okay, please open the voting.
Oops. You should be able to override it.
Oh. Oh, there it is.
Does anyone wish to change their vote? Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
Moving on to public hearings. Public hearing procedure is as follows. Chairperson opens the public hearing. Staff and property owners will introduce the item and take questions from the, well, they'll introduce the item after which point it'll be opened up to speakers from the public. When that is done, that section, the hearing section, will be closed, and then we'll move on to discussion between commissioners and staff. First item is minor use permit 19-06 for a new Starbucks drive-through at 3004 Olive Highway. Staff.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, on November 12th, we received an application for a 2,225 square foot drive-through restaurant at 3004 Olive Highway. The intention is to demolish Ron's Drive-In and build a new second Starbucks in Oroville. This application packet includes the site plan, building elevations, generic floor plan, and landscaping and lighting design. The new Starbucks would have a 10-car drive-through lane, more than the 8 at the existing Starbucks now, and the site configuration allows overflow stacking on-site versus on the existing Starbucks site on Oro Dam. Nevertheless, traffic is the biggest factor in this application. It's at Olive and Lower Wyandotte, both of which are congested during peak travel times, coming in towards town, in particular in the morning. Olive, between this site and Oro Dam Boulevard, is currently at level of service D, and that means high density but stable flow. Users experience severe restriction in speed and freedom to maneuver with poor levels of comfort and convenience. We have no information yet ourselves about traffic counts from this project, but since the applicant plans to eliminate one driveway and recreate another driveway on Olive Highway, State Route 162, Caltrans is separately reviewing the project because they need to issue an encroachment permit. Staff therefore proposes a condition that this project would be conditioned upon Caltrans review and approval of the encroachment permit, and that is condition number 11 on page 31 in your packet. Caltrans also has a long-range plan to improve Olive Highway by adding another travel lane in each direction, This can be done without widening the roadway, so that's a future project of Caltrans. It is different than the 162 widening project that's going on now east of there, and timing is uncertain. Data from another similar Starbucks project suggests this project could serve up to 200 or maybe even a little more than 200 vehicles at peak morning, most of which would be drivers already passing through. The issue then also becomes egress and ingress to the site. The city departments have met to discuss this project and have concluded that the Olive Highway driveway, the 162 driveway, should be right in, right out, with left turn lanes off of Olive Highway being precluded. That condition is included also as a draft condition. Yeah, they can turn left onto Wyandotte, yeah, only. School drop-offs in the morning are another traffic factor. Existing traffic from the 3 schools that are there across Wyandotte pour out from the Mesa Avenue driveway across from the project site. This is an existing traffic condition. The Oroville City Elementary School District is interested in this project and have not commented at this point.
Wait, who is that?
Say that again?
Yeah, the Oroville City Elementary School District.
They didn't say what the comment is?
They're concerned also about the traffic and whether it will impact their operations. They have drop-offs in the morning at a similar time that this Starbucks would be peaked. Starbucks would get some of those customers, I'm sure. The city is now improving the sidewalk along Lower Wyandotte. We have a frontage improvement plan at the same time that we're improving the big drainage ditch that's just south of this project site. We have coordinated with the applicant about driveway configuration, and the frontage improvement plan is one of the drawings in the package. The sidewalk location will be unchanged. So we also propose to execute a revocable grant of license with the applicant to allow them to use our property. Let's put that slide up so I can. So there is an easement. This dotted line here is an easement for Lower Wyandotte, which is a very wide easement. So the applicant has requested that we allow them to use that easement. The sidewalk location would be unchanged, and then they can put parking spaces in there and help meet their parking requirement. It's revocable. We have no plans at this time to do anything with that intersection. Signage is not covered in the staff report, but a review against our existing codes indicate that all signs in the sign program are about 184 square feet, much lower than the 300 square feet allowed. We note that there is a freestanding pole sign there that is 17 feet high. It's existing, and it has Ron's as a sign in it. And the applicant proposes to just replace that message with a Starbucks logo. Lots and lots of other signs in that area are the same height. Other quick items of note in the conditions, the proposed conditions, there's a 1% public art fee. There is a landscape maintenance agreement required, as is required with all projects along Highway 162. And the project is in a floodplain. The site is in a floodplain, so we're requiring a flood cert so that all buildings and electrical are at least 1 foot above flood stage. Mitch Engstrom and Bill McCandless are here representing the applicant if they wanted to say anything.
Good evening. My name's Mitch Engstrom, and we're excited to be back in the great city of Oroville. We did the original Starbucks on Oro Dam, and we believe that that store has done beyond our expectations of what it is. And this store will help relieve any traffic congestion that has come up over on that side of town. So we believe that this store will help out with the congestion on the west side of town. So I'm here for any questions that, if anybody has anything.
We might eventually. Depends on discussion. Do you have anything to add?
I'm just here to answer questions, if you have any about the.
Okay, well,
Site plan.
I'll go ahead and end the public section, and then
okay.
through the course of the discussion, we might ask you to step up if we have any more questions. Seeing that there's no one else here to speak on this item from the public, we will close public discussion and limit discussion between commissioners and staff. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Sears?
When was the west side Starbucks put in?
Yeah, I think it was 2017.
September of 17, I believe.
Yeah, I
Sounds
take your
about right.
point that this would relieve the pressure on that one, and also just in that small period of time, our population has grown substantially.
Well,
And I
so-
think it will easily support a second Starbucks. The comments that I've received from people that have asked about it have been very positive.
So we've been crunching the numbers on the traffic counts, and towns of the same size and adding another store on the other side of town, and it relieves about 20%, between 15 to 20% of store A. So, if if there's 100 people going to one store when there's only one in town, now you get 80 there and then 20 go to the other one just to start.
Yeah.
So it really alleviates the pressure on one store, so.
To be honest, I've gone to Starbucks a couple times, and there was no room in the drive-through.
Right.
So I just went to the next one where it was a little easier without having to block off yeah. So I think it would definitely easily regain that 20%
Oh, yeah.
just by people that are.
And Starbucks has been asking, after the first 6-9 weeks of us opening the first one at 480 Oro Dam, they said, we need another one. And so, and the same with Panda Express too. So they're eager to get another store in town as well, just because they know how well they're doing, and
Yeah.
they could get more if they had another store.
Yeah, they're
in
losing
town.
business because.
Yeah, because
it's-
they're too busy, so.
I know that for a fact, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Durley?
I was trying to figure out if there's a way to move the entry exit on Lower Wyandotte further upstream. The stacking distance is going to be horrible there.
You worry about them being around.
Yeah, it's already it stacks all the way right now back past where the
Well, that,
drive
and that lead,
is.
I'm gonna piggyback on that, because that leads up to a concern I was gonna bring up, which is specific, the declassification that Caltrans does on these roads, where it says, D, I can't remember the first part of their definition. Yeah, but steady flow is in there, and I think that's debatable, especially certain times of day. But I realize also Caltrans, that's a whole nother ball of wax, because that whole area you have to deal with Caltrans. I think if they, on Olive Highway, if they move forward with, if they actually do it, as opposed to just saying they're going to do it, with improving Olive Highway, I think that's an addressed issue, because there's plenty of room on Olive Highway.
Widening, right?
Yeah, and putting in extra lanes and stuff like that.
Actually,
But Lower Wyandotte is a concern, because that is a huge bottleneck.
Yeah, it is.
during the day, and and horribly so in the morning, and then in the afternoon. And if there's no, there's not going to be any. If the sidewalks going to stay exactly where they are, because there's no middle turn lane there, and if we have no plans on putting in a middle turn lane, that's going to be a serious problem, especially if off Olive Highway, if anybody has to turn left, they're going to have to go on to Lower Wyandotte to then turn left. That's going to start backing up pretty fast.
They won't be able to get through the stack
Yeah,
for the light.
especially in the mornings, which is when most people get their coffee. And the kids are going to school and people are going to work. So we literally have nothing to address that.
That's correct. We have no plans at all. Lower Wyandotte is quite wide. As you know, it's a T intersection too, so there would have to be 2 left turn lanes set up in there. I think that's what you're talking about. I can talk to our city engineer to see if that can be done or arranged or beginning to be planned.
Well, it needs to be. I mean, it's going to need to be addressed, and especially with as popular as Starbucks is. It's
Yeah, 5 people are waiting.
5?
Well, let's say 5.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
people wouldn't be able to get in the driveway.
Right.
because as soon as you're going to have people that are going to be turning, right on the Lower Wyandotte, and then people turning off, turning right off Olive Highway on the Lower Wyandotte, and
They're
people
gonna-
turning left off Olive
Yeah.
Highway on the Lower Wyandotte. I mean, it's going to stack up pretty
Their
quickly in the
lane would be
mornings.
clear, but they'd have to cross a lane
Yeah, but I think both. Yeah, it's going to be a problem because they're going to pile up because this one's always blocked, almost always.
Yep.
So if they're having to turn left across that, they're going to stop there.
And it's
And if
gonna
you don't
back
have a
right up
turn
into the
lane,
intersection. That's where
Yeah.
that's where I was going.
which then it's going to also cause people backing up. If people are turning left off Olive Highway, they're going to have to stop because the traffic's not going anywhere. Then the traffic heading southeast on Olive Highway is going to be backing up beyond the intersection, and that road is already in. I mean, because you've got all the businesses off there, the hospital, everything else, the school. I mean, it's all going to cascade out of control pretty quickly.
It's quite a large employment center in that
Yeah.
whole area there.
And then a side effect of that is going to be because there are a lot of people that take their kids to Central Middle School through Lower Wyandotte from Olive Highway. And there's, they get a number of people dropping off from the other. I don't know that I have to confess, I haven't been down to Central Middle School for quite a while. But going in the other entrance of Central Middle School, I don't know if they've adjusted for that. That's a neighborhood, the other entrance. And so if it starts backing up as much on the Lower Wyandotte side, then more and more people are going to start trying to go through the neighborhood, which is going to cause issues with the people living in the residential neighborhood.
Yeah, because they'll whip around
Yeah.
and make a left turn onto Wyandotte to make a right turn into the driveway.
Exactly.
Once they recognize that it's almost impossible to make a left turn off of Wyandotte into the driveway because all the cars are stacked waiting for a left turn onto. Fine. I wish I had my pointer so I could explain what I'm talking about. But
I think we know.
It's going to be, it's
he's
going
got
to
a
be,
question look on his face.
Well, no, I'm thinking about it.
We've
Yeah.
got to try to do our best to build good behavior in
Right,
drivers, not
right.
bad behavior.
And that's, all of what you've talked about is why I was looking at possibility of moving the entrance down here.
I think I know why you have the entrance there is because having it back, it allows a little bit more queuing area.
More queue in the, yeah.
But
Yeah,
but
well,
the problem is that that's more queuing area on the property for you guys, but
It's
it's less
Less-
on
Less
the
on the
road.
street.
Well, if you move it down there, you're gonna lose about 2 cars on your stacking. Okay?
Does it
Maybe-
also have some internal parking
You'd have 1, 2,
Excuse me?
3,
though? It
4,
also has
5,
internal
6.
parking.
Yes,
You could pull in and park.
yes.
But not everybody, if you have that drive-through back up, and if it backs up to right here, then they'll be blocking the drive.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully that won't happen, but,
Well, yeah, people will come in here thinking they can stack, and you'll get right here, and oops, and you gotta stop.
Yeah, it's gonna be,
And hope,
it's gonna,
hope they can make the
it's
turn
gonna-
in.
it's gonna cascade out of control
Our
pretty
branded
quickly with the way
KFC
that
is backing
intersection
up
is.
on Oro Dam Boulevard
Yeah.
now.
So-
Backing up out onto Oro Dam.
Oh, yeah.
I almost wish that current sidewalk wasn't there so that we could have their sidewalk a little bit
Actually-
furd in to make extra room, but
Actually, if you
that
had
would
a
require
full
ripping up
on-
what's
if you had
there,
a
so.
left turn lane and actually adding a right turn lane would alleviate a lot of that. I've been many times where I was going to make a right turn, and the car, there's probably enough room if they would be all the way over, but if there was an indentation in there for a right turn lane, I think that would alleviate a lot too, and there's not. So right now, you have the signal, if you're gonna make a right turn, usually you gotta wait till the green light to get over enough.
Does that sidewalk go all the ways up towards the other business that's south of your guys' property? It seems like there was an area there that's just
To
dirt.
Big O, you mean here?
No, well, this is Olive Highway, so the property that's south of here, does that sidewalk go all the ways down that way? It seems like there was
No,
a
I
dirt.
didn't.
Which way's south?
Up Laurel Wyandotte, away from Olive Highway.
Yeah,
Toward the big,
There's a big,
No, Big O's
Can
on
I-
Olive Highway.
Along here. How far up this way?
Oh, okay.
I was just there's a big gap, it seems like, in a vacant lot.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and it's just gravel right now.
right.
That's where that
It seems like
drive,
if there was an area there, I mean, I guess that would still require you guys tearing up some sidewalk, but if they could put a little indent for a right turn, and then the road part's gonna be our issue, but, we do need to address that. If there's room, which that was what I was debating on, but if there's room to put in, if we can put in,
well, it's like a 50-50 unless people are going left.
right,
So,
but if
yeah.
we get that middle turn lane in there, then that will give some room to get people. It's not, there's still gonna be a problem, but that'll mitigate some of it,
Most people turn left.
Most people do turn left in the morning because they're heading into town, yeah.
Oh, it's the school that throws everything off.
I'll talk with the
Darn
city
kids need an
engineer
education.
tomorrow to see if maybe we can put an extra lane in there.
To add more of a right turn there. I mean, that would alleviate.
Well,
20%.
he's talking about my thing, but the
Oh, yeah,
the
that'd
middle
be
lane,
ideal.
Trying to
the
figure out
turning
what we
lane.
can do to make it all work.
So, would you like to add a condition to that effect, that engineer looks at Lower Wyandotte and tries to alleviate congestion, or?
Well, but that's on the city engineer. I don't know how we'd word that. I don't necessarily want to put something that's dependent on the city engineer doing on these guys. But I do want to ask, is there any possibility that you guys would be able to do a little on the so on coming up this direction, to do a little bit of a cutout here for a right turn? Would that be something you guys would be willing to do?
So right there where the pointer is, right there?
Further,
So because the middle turn lane is addressing the issues turning this way and this way. But I'm talking for the traffic coming down this way,
Oh, I
there was
see.
a little divot right here for a right turn
Some of those
that might
people
kind of
just
get them out of the way of the
Yeah.
people coming down the hill.
I still think most of them are gonna do it.
it would be, that's a tight turn if you're going up
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Wyandotte to make that into the turn lane.
Yeah, it
it's
Yeah,
almost an impossible turn.
and you're
That's
gonna
true.
get
Yeah.
a 3-point turn.
Yeah, you're right.
But
That's in
we're
a-
able to, we could crunch the numbers on that and see what we could do, but I don't know if that would, help or hurt more.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Sell
The-
coffee for less at 7 o'clock. And the prices go up at 7:30.
Note also that just immediately south of this property is a driveway that goes into the Big O
Right.
property here. And then the drainage ditch is just south of that.
Well, there does need to be some consideration. I mean, I think I do want to put something in there that that the city engineer, they need to look at putting that middle lane in there and mitigating the,
And maybe.
I don't want to hold up the project, but I do want to have, we need to look, just coming into it in our discussion here, it hasn't been taken into consideration enough, the impact it's going to have.
Okay.
Well, just that there's a revocable easement there for a reason too, that the city has. I'm assuming, in case we ever did have to widen that out.
Right. Well, yeah, that was the idea of having it.
And
But if we're not going to do that in the, that's not going to happen for a while. There needs to be something done in the interim.
right, no, I think a left turn lane would be huge, a big.
So a right turn divot into the site
Well,
from Lower Wyandotte or
Or a
a
left
double
turn.
left turn lane.
Yeah, the middle turn lane, we definitely need to look, because if the city can get that in there, that's gonna go a long way for addressing a number
Well,
of
even
issues. I
if-
mean, it's not gonna fix it, but it's gonna mitigate.
Even
it.
in this
Middle left
rendering,
turn lane.
even in this rendering, there's like an area for landscape. I'd rather see the landscape go away. You know, there's, looks like probably about a 10-foot, I don't know, 5 to 10-foot landscape median.
Yeah.
Right
yeah.
in here where the
Right
pointer
there.
is?
Yeah, there and up there. And if we could pull the sidewalk over up to closer to the parking, just to give enough room for a left turn lane in there and a right turn lane. Well, I guess you don't need a right turn lane if you have a left turn, because they're either going straight or making
Yeah.
a right turn at that point.
And nobody's gonna be, I mean,
90
nobody's heading out of town at
Yeah.
7 o'clock in the morning.
Typically, no.
Nobody's leaving town at 7 o'clock in the morning?
Well,
Going
yeah,
out of town.
I don't think
Coming in.
I don't think I necessarily agree with, if you're talking about off highway, the traffic is definitely less going this. But see, coming up this way to Lower Wyandotte there in the morning, you have a lot of traffic going to the school.
Right,
Yeah.
correct. We understand that.
It's all coming in, yeah. Most of the people are gonna be making a left off Lower Wyandotte on the Highway 162. But some are gonna go right though, but some people are just dropping their kids off and heading back up wherever they're coming from too. If they live in Kelly Ridge,
The other thing is you have to take in consideration on this traffic here, it's not just people coming to drop their kids off school in the morning, but since we're gonna make this over here where you're not gonna have left turns this direction, anybody coming into town this direction who wants to come to Starbucks is gonna be turning and coming up this way.
Right.
That's where I was headed
So
to,
you,
yeah.
you have to,
That's
you have
the
to take
problem.
both of those into consideration.
yeah.
Yep.
And in order to exit, since it's right in, right out, everybody's gotta go to this point to get out. So everybody's basically,
If they're gonna go.
there's very few
To get
people who
in.
wanna go out and go this way in the mornings. They wanna come in, get their coffee and come out
And
the
continue west.
the large driveway and make a right turn. It's gonna stack like crazy. And then the revocable easement, I assume the revocable easement, the way it looks, is for widening the road.
Yes.
And you're saying you don't see a foreseeable future that's not gonna happen? I see a almost immediate future that's gonna
Well,
happen.
the need's gonna be there. The need's definitely gonna be there right off the bat,
This
but
project
the
will
problem,
trigger
the
it.
problem that Oroville's had is they don't have the money to widen the roads, which is.
The plan in the BCAG corridor plan, which you have one of the pages from that plan in your packet there, shows that Olive Highway between Lower Wyandotte and Oro Dam Boulevard is level of service D. Otherwise, including on Lower Wyandotte, it's currently level of service C.
Yeah, and when was that study done?
That was done in, I believe it was 2016.
That wasn't too long ago.
No, but I've.
But the plan is then to upgrade that signal and add those new lanes onto
Those-
Olive, yeah.
What's, tell you my brain.
And
what's
that
what's the term for that? The
level of service?
level of service. Thank you. God, I was Anyway, the level of service, I've always had an issue, going all the ways back to my very first meeting, sitting on this commission, lo, those many years, with those classifications. Because I think Caltrans still classifies, even before any changes were made, it was still classifying the intersection of Olive Highway and Oro Dam as D. And that's what they had it classified as over 20 years ago. And I thought it was ridiculous 20 years ago that it was only classified as that. There's classifications have always been a little bit too,
Soft.
yes, exactly.
Okay. These classifications also match the classifications in our general plan, so I don't know who did those.
And then to add to our frustration, widening Olive Highway from Foothill Boulevard to Oro Dam was in the STIP in 2004. They were going to do right-of-way acquisition in 2004 and the project in 2005. And it all got sucked into the 149 project. Every dollar of it.
Yep.
I know, because this is where I live. And the stretch that I have to go in and out of my street onto Olive Highway fails in both directions at the same time.
Okay.
So I think this project may be
I think
what we need to kickstart this, this needed project.
If you look at the overlay, which you have right there,
Yeah.
I can see 10 cars are stacked on an
Yeah,
intersection.
in the photo.
The hospital, meanwhile, is increasing its employees. They'll have 2,200.
we hadn't even talked about that.
22. Now, they're not all there at the same time. They're working shifts.
No,
But I mean, it's already
the
pretty
number per
congested
shift
as
is
it
gonna
is.
dramatically
The number
increase.
per shift is going to go
Yeah.
up to
And that
700,
building's gonna be
800.
right there on
Yep.
that side too. It's-
Yep.
Well, it really bothers me that you're gonna, revocable easements.
Obviously, a lot of this doesn't have to do, isn't your guys' problem, but it's, you're tapping into an issue that's an
Well, but
ongoing
it
issue,
may
so.
actually bring it to a head.
Right,
Which,
yeah.
so maybe we should approve this project and then go cry to Caltrans.
Well, they don't care. If they cared, the stuff would have been done 20 years ago. We need to do, it needs to be considered in something, some effort at mitigation needs to be made. And I think that,
Yes.
that middle,
Consideration must be given to
I don't wanna call it
The
a suicide
possibil-
lane, but that middle turn lane, left-hand
the
turn lane. would be
possible
a-
need for further mitigation.
It's
After,
gonna be a traffic nightmare,
yep.
externally and internally.
Well, there's times of day where it already is, that's the thing. So, I mean, it's just gonna
I
get
get-
worse.
I could see the benefits of being on the other side of the highway, but I do see the disadvantage because you're less distance from the school.
And
so-
it's too small a site.
Yeah.
Well, the site,
It's just,
No,
there's
not-
gonna be
not the
issues with it no
building,
matter where it's at.
but there's the
It's
acreage,
Orville's
there's-
Traffic hasn't grown.
there's a 3-acre and a 4-acre parcel that I know the owner personally on the other side of the highway that would love to do,
There's also the
sell
corner,
or,
at the corner of Foothill and Olive, there's another possibility too.
yeah. But I'd love to see Starbucks and another one
Yeah.
So,
from there.
what are we thinking of here, Wes, on, the wording we included, because, I don't wanna, this needs to be addressed, but I don't wanna stop the project. I certainly don't wanna add like, a huge amount of money onto their project either, so.
Some way to express
But-
our
Well,
frustration and our
But
concern.
there needs to be some, if the city can do something,
Rather-
like the middle
yeah.
turn lane,
Rather than
Where-
add it as a condition to the applicant.
Where they could get in off
This
Olive
commission
Highway.
could direct staff to move forward with consideration, planning, and engineering of these improvements that you're talking about, including the double left lane off Lower Wyandotte, and then the BCAG improvements that are scheduled. Or any other improvements that you want to add.
so, go ahead, Commissioner Jones. Sorry.
Is your parking,
Here.
right at the map? In other words, you have exactly the number of parking spaces that you need for the size of the seating?
I'll have to defer to
Yeah,
our architect here.
I have to look it up.
I think they need 10 and they have 15 if
Yeah.
if I don't,
It
if
sounds
I
about right.
recall.
You need 10 and you have 15?
Because you have to have employee parking too.
Correct. And normally we have about, I'd say, three partners at a time, 3 to 4.
I'd say.
4 from the 5 to 8 shift.
Yeah.
So,
If you, I'm trying to redesign this in my head and
I think it's
it's
just
a little
7:30
hard.
and 3:30.
Is there enough
There are
room?
gonna be problems.
If you took out the 5 parking spaces at front adjacent to the building and then shifted down the other parking, so that basically you're shifting the,
towards the trash enclosure.
yeah, well, here. Take these out here and shift this way so that your drive is coming this way. That protects the easement, but also gives the opportunity to make a lot sooner a right turn lane without knocking out, in the future, knocking out parking. So you might only have to take out 1, 2, 3, 4 in order to make a right turn.
But wouldn't we be taking the 5 stalls out in front of the,
What was that?
wouldn't we be taking the 5 stalls out in front of the building?
I couldn't understand.
Wouldn't we be taking out the 5 stalls in front of the building?
By the front
I
door?
just switched on you.
Okay,
No, leave this, but if you take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not even 5, whatever you need to make
Maybe
a
3.
right turn here and alleviate some of the, because there's so much backup because people want to make the right turn. It's part of the stacking problem.
then we get into the bigger,
Huh?
then we get into the item of, then we're gonna have to redo that entire intersection if we move that corner.
7, 8.
No, I'm not talking about doing it now. I'm talking about leaving the space
I see 14.
so that the right turn can
Maybe
be
15.
Okay, I understand what you're talking about,
without
yeah.
knocking out your parking. Do it now. In other words, basically leave this open so that the right turn can be made. Because once the parking's in there, it's gonna, the city's gonna have a hard time going back and taking this property necessary for the right turn.
Well, and we've been working with the city, I think it's the city engineer, on the easement to get the language correct that at the time when the city wants to take it back, that there's no issue and we will be 100% cooperative for that.
Even though it knocks out your parking?
We will work with the city to make sure everybody's happy.
In other words, they're designing that parking with the expectation that eventually they're gonna have to remove.
Right.
it.
That's,
Yeah. So,
There's 8 spaces required. It's
Huh?
1 per 300 square feet of building.
So 8 spaces required.
And there's 15 there.
It's just gonna be a horrible mess, no matter what you do.
yeah, Wes, you do think that lower Wyandotte, because I'm looking at the map here and I'm trying to measure it out with a horrible visual and remember from memory, but you do think it is wide enough to put a middle turn lane there on lower Wyandotte?
A middle turn lane or a right turn lane, maybe one with an arrow that goes both directions, something like that. Yes, but perhaps the commission can direct staff to study this more closely for, including the engineers, and report back to the commission in January with any suggestions.
Yeah,
Was the applicant okay with that? I mean, are you guys okay with us?
Well, the
Yeah, one-
applicant, I think, would like to move forward if it's a commission's will. This would be a separate action.
so we could do, yeah, I mean, if we
Well,
really wanted to have them look into
the
it before we
easement's
approved
there.
it, then,
Right.
but otherwise, we could make a motion to approve this, but then make a separate motion, or make it actually, I guess, part of the motion,
Make a
to
condition.
direct staff to look into mitigating the issue, specifically putting in a middle turn lane there on Lower Wyandotte. You know, there's not much we can do about Olive Highway, that's Caltrans. I mean, it's, yeah.
We are participating in the discussions between the applicant and Caltrans as well, so this can be part of the factoring in at that time.
Okay, were there any other questions or comments?
On another topic, the landscaping is wonderful. That's going to really make, that's beautiful. I mean, I'm visualizing crepe myrtles and Chinese pistachio trees. Big ones.
Commissioner Chapman wanted to take it out, but
Well, I think it'd be a worthy sacrifice to help address the traffic. Because I think the commission's biggest concern is
traffic.
stacking of
Yeah.
cars.
Well, I mean, if you've,
I think
I
it's
don't know how
just two
much
times a
driving
day
through-
though, and we have to figure that
It's
out.
gonna be the 7 to 8:30 and the 2:30 to 3:30.
it's, for that area, yeah, that's gonna be the huge part. There are other times of day and for certain things where it can kinda get on different times, but Oroville as a whole, if you ever spent, I don't know how much time you've driven around Oroville, there are areas, because there are areas through Oroville, it doesn't matter what time of day it is, it clogs up. And then it just gets worse at those times of day, because Oroville's population and commerce has grown in the last 40 years, but its roadways have not.
Right.
For the most part. with
And the
rare
cars are
exception.
bigger than they used to be.
And then we get things like what happened out on Oro Dam east of Olive Highway there, or east of Oro Quincy actually, where they did this nice put in sidewalks and everything and kept it wide, but then they narrowed it.
Yeah.
They choked it at certain areas. And then they turned Nelson in the one lane in certain area and then lower the speed limit. And it's like, and they so some of the stuff that's been done in the last 30 to 40 years actually has made the problem worse.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
And,
But I think their point is well taken too, that a lot of this traffic is already there.
well, and that's the problem.
It's
That-
just
and
the
that-
timing.
That's why I don't want to put too much.
Right.
I don't want to put, any extra burden on you guys, because it's not that you guys are creating all this. It's just that the problem is, it's already an issue. And then this is, because Starbucks is popular, is just going to add on to it. And, but it's an issue that's already there, so, for the most part. If all the rest of the issue wasn't there, just putting you guys there wouldn't be a problem, so.
So I have a possible wording for a condition for staff or to direct staff.
Okay.
Direct staff to work with applicant and Caltrans to design an intersection that relieves existing and project-caused congestion to the maximum extent practicable and as quickly as possible.
That's a suggested motion?
Yeah, and to report back to the planning commission in January.
What's the process? At what stage of the process?
We're gonna be, if we get approval tonight, we'll be full bore.
They'll be pulling
To
one
go.
in the morning.
Well,
Well, you have
we'll
plans-
release,
Will you have plans approved, finished construction plans approved and ready to start building tomorrow?
Oh, no.
no,
We
We're-
haven't started,
How long?
we're waiting, what
we
do you
haven't
think?
started construction drawings yet. And then I'm the architect of the shell building. Starbucks also has another architect that does the tenant improvement inside. So we have to do our shell building before they can do their
Right.
work
Okay.
for the
Right.
entire
Right.
project. So, I mean, and we haven't started any of that because we wanted to wait to get an approval here.
Okay, but you got, this ain't got approval tonight. How long from tonight
To breaking ground.
will it be before you are ready to pull your permits and start construction on the shell?
It's gonna be a couple of months at least.
It's 60, 75 days, I'd say.
So we could be
So-
using those days.
So,
We have this store opening in September. And it
Okay.
takes us, so let's back it up, so say September 15th, back it up 45 days for the tenant improvements, and then it takes us for the shell and site work about 5 months. So it's about a 7-month process all in.
but, yeah, how long is it going to be before you're ready to break ground and start construction? And that's what, a month or two?
Yeah, or more.
So it's
February.
it's
We-
possible for you to,
March, he said March.
we can prove it with a condition tonight, and I'm just playing games here. Approve it tonight with a condition that it come back for final approval of the site design, not approval of the project. So we can get a feel for that it's going to work. I don't know. It just really bothers me that it's already a horrendous condition, and this is going to make it. I can see people right now going up your right turn here, right turn only. They're going to go this way. Unless somebody, and the state's not going to do it, put in a barrier so people can't make a left turn. They're going to do it.
Yeah, people do that at Taco Bell now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to.
Even
What
though
we've
they-
done in the past, we've done delineators, kind of the, for lack of a better term, the lick and stick delineators that, and we did that in our project in Winters with Caltrans, and those have been out there for 3 years, and it,
So they would not be able to make a left
correct, correct. And it's the rubber delineators that stick up, but if you do hit them, it's not gonna, you're not
It
hitting.
gets your attention.
Yeah, it'll get your attention, but it's not like hitting a K-rail.
turn. The left turn lane, the left turn lane onto Lower Wyandotte from Olive Highway
That's the one.
backs up almost to your driveway. The stacking,
Right.
okay?
Yep.
But it's still, people are gonna wanna
Right, but if,
sneak across there.
if we put the delineators up there, it will deter a lot of people, and we haven't had any issues in our, winter site. That,
With the delineator?
yes,
Yeah.
and that's, State Highway, what is that, 16? Yeah,
Yes.
Highway 16 in Winters, and it's,
Will you be willing to work with the state to get something like that here, so it guarantees that there won't be?
we will work with the state to see what we could do to get something out there, yes.
And the city's part of that discussion, correct?
Yes.
On the other hand, if Caltrans was gonna put that two-way left turn lane in, they would,
Yeah.
then you could turn left.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, it's a mess, huh?
If not, I will open for a motion. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve their project. Oh,
With,
I'll move we approve it, with the additional conditions stated,
with the additional wording that,
yeah, with the additional verbiage on the conditions on the improvements, street improvements.
I'll second.
okay, there's a motion and a second. Any question as to the motion? Please open the voting.
Shoot.
No. No, I had already checked with the city attorney previously.
So 3 votes will approve.
It's a majority of the quorum, so.
In the motion, I would.
So this is part of this is a question to the motion.
Yeah.
If,
In your motion that you wrote up that he, or your language that you wrote up that he took as a motion did not include the barrier in Olive Highway, so
It
left
did
turns.
not, but it's a simple matter to change project condition, draft project condition to include delineators in that one.
so with that question to the wording, the person making the motion and the second wish to revoke their,
No. We're good with the amended verbiage, the add the
or
delineators.
you remove your motion and make a new one if you're going to
Right.
do that.
Okay. I will remove my motion and make a new motion.
Okay. All right, so then make the new motion. Oh, well, I'm gonna open for motion. Is there, I'm opening up for a motion again. The previous motion had been withdrawn. Is there another motion?
You go ahead.
I'll also move with the added verbiage of the delineators and the additional improvement conditions.
And I'll second.
And does that include recommendations 1 through 4 in the staff report as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, there's a motion, a second. Any further questions just to that motion? Seeing none, please open the voting. Does anyone wish to change their vote? Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
Thank you for your forbearance.
Of course.
Okay, moving on to our next item.
Thank you.
Under regular business, good luck.
We're looking forward to it.
Designation of 2 planning commissioners to the Development Review Committee. Staff,
Commissioners, the city code, Oroville City Code, which is attached to this item in your packages, specifies the makeup of the Development Review Committee, which includes 2 planning commissioners. We now have reason, because of the increase in development activity, to want to reinstate that body. The Planning Commission has been acting as the de facto Development Review Committee, and request the Commission's support by setting up the mandated membership rotation in the code. One current project in particular would benefit from a Development Review Committee meeting, and I'll describe this project and lay it to the pleasure of the Commission. We're working with Butte Transit and a developer, housing developer, affordable housing developer, to prepare a $15.4 million grant application for a 120-unit multi-family affordable housing development at Nelson and Table Mountain, that triangular parcel that's vacant there.
It was vacant for years, forever.
There's a fossil sign on it now.
7 vacant acres, plus the grant includes sidewalks, bike lanes, and covered bus stop and transit amenities also within a half a mile or even a mile of that project location. It's under the Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities Grant Program of the state, and so it's supporting sustainable transportation infrastructure and affordable housing all in the same fell swoop. Phase 1 of the Riverbend Family Apartments includes 70 units, which is 12 units to a building, 2-story and 3-story apartment buildings. The project is an approved use in the R3 zone at 20 acres per unit, 20 units per acre maximum.
Where is this located?
It's at the northeast corner of Table Mountain and Nelson.
Oh, okay.
no,
Northwest.
Oh, it's,
Northwest corner,
oh, this is the same
correct,
project.
yeah.
you-
Right across
okay.
the street from the church there.
It's called Riverbend, okay.
The point of the point of that property is the roundabout. They are calling it the Riverbend Family Apartments.
That Riverbend threw us off because it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
long ways from the river.
a long way from Riverbend.
Well,
Agreed, we're
that's why they need the
unsure.
bus to get to the river and the grocery store.
So as an R3 approved use, this project would not normally come to the Planning Commission for review. However, it does require development review. and we expect to receive an application as early as tomorrow. Accordingly, we request the commission's support and participation on the Development Review Committee, which we would set up a meeting of the Development Review Committee and the applicant and talk about design and layout and massing and all of these issues in the second or the third week of January. If the commission chooses otherwise, the commission would remain as the de facto Development Review Committee. We'd still conduct informal interdepartmental reviews. This project would come to the Planning Commission on January 23rd, which is later than the applicant desires, but it would not be fatal to the project.
Yeah, and I think that's the type of project that's very important to have planning commission input on in one form or another. I would put out, because I was actually gonna suggest on this, even before you brought this up, this specific point up, that because, we have 4 people here, I don't know if you're gonna wanna sit on that committee, because you've got a lot of extra, you got a lot of stuff going on right now. I'm gonna be leaving soon. Then you have a lot of other commissioners who aren't here, that, we might want to default to that going before the whole commission and then table this election to the development review to a later meeting when more of the commissioners are going to be, who are going to be here for a longer period of time will be here.
Are there 2 of us that are here willing to do it now?
Well, there are. I'm assuming that you
The
two.
two of
but-
us
Yeah.
could start out,
Yeah.
you're gonna rotate anyway, right?
Right.
but,
And then one of the commissioners one of the commissioners chairs
And then it
the
rotates.
committee meeting,
Yeah.
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 I actually think, if you guys want to do that, that's fine. But I actually think, given the change will happen in the commission and the lack of other commissioners here, I think it would be a good idea to, I don't know, I mean, if you guys want to do it, I guess we do it. But the other thing is, I actually think that project might be a good thing to go before the whole commission. Is just
It's big enough.
another plus
It's big enough to.
I think there's a benefit to the whole commission actually seeing that specific one.
Well, it would also get to see it. I mean,
No,
No.
there's specifically, he's specific,
The code does not
The
require it.
Yeah.
The DRC reviews it, makes comments, changes are made, and goes to the planning commission for approval.
well, no, except for this specific one does not require the planning commission.
No.
And I'm saying, normally, that's the way projects would work, okay? In this case, the 2 members of the DRC will be making a final decision.
It's not a discretionary project,
Right.
but it still
Don't-
requires
They won't be
development
making a
review,
decision,
yeah.
making input.
is that because of the
What
grant?
Damon is saying,
No, that's
No.
because it's
Code.
approved by right in this zone.
Oh, it's allowed within the zone.
allowed.
okay.
so what Damon is saying, for the planning commission to sit as the DRC at a separate meeting. But we wouldn't be able to time that in the same time frame as the 2 as a DRC with 2 members. Is that right?
Well,
How
But
soon-
it would go to the next meeting in January.
what-
Whereas if it was just 2 members, they would probably do it a little bit sooner, but it's not gonna kill them to wait a little bit longer.
No.
It's not gonna throw their timeline off or anything. I mean,
So your preference is to have them bring the project to the January 23rd Planning Commission meeting, and then at that meeting also make appointments for future?
right. I think that would be good, because then there's 2 things. I think this type of project really would benefit from having
Input from everybody.
input from everybody.
Yeah.
And then I also think that would be a good time for you 2 and the other commissioners who are gonna be here to have a discussion about who you want on that commission, because I'm not gonna be here in the following months, so.
I've been on the DRC committee back when we had regular meetings. I know a couple other commissioners had a hard time because of their work schedules, but typically the DRC would happen
During the
during
daytime?
the
the
day.
daytime.
Right.
And,
So you're stuck with the old
but
retired people?
I'd love to see a couple, I'd like to see the whole body here.
Because on that specific project, I think I think it's gonna be a great project, and it's a great location, because you have subsidized apartments just right across the street from it on Table Mountain.
Both sides.
You have some others further down in Nelson. But you're gonna have contention, because whenever apartments come up, you have people that get upset about it. And then when you have apartments that are subsidized, people get all up in arms because you don't want to help poor people. And the funny thing is that the subsidized apartments usually end up being the nicest apartments in town.
Yes, they do.
So I think there's a benefit to having.
Our church is on the corner there, and we've never had any problem with the apartment complex that butts up against us.
The only worry I have about it is the lack of commercial development in the area. Ergo, the necessity for bus transit.
And that's gonna change as time goes on.
It will
yeah.
change
I
over
mean,
time.
Well, it will,
But
having a
if it's-
project like this done will probably push it to change.
Approving it now, before the commercial development takes place, makes it all the more necessary to have transit.
Yeah.
No, I think,
So that's, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, I think it's a great site, and I think it'd help meet our conditions with the state level as far as affordable housing,
Yeah,
more rental units.
their percentage up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, on this particular issue with the designating of the two planning commissioners for development review, that would be my druthers, because I think you get two birds with one stone, which is you have more of the input of the commissioners to fill that,
Project.
of the people who are going to stay here. But then you also, that project would then by default come at that meeting and get more input from more commissioners. It's two things that I see a benefit from.
That one on the hill behind the hospital sure built out in a hurry. I
Oh, yeah.
remember when they broke ground on phase 1 of 3, and they're kind of like, we don't know when we're gonna do the others, and boom, they just
Boom.
popped up
Yeah,
like
well, there's
mushrooms.
a demand for it.
Yep,
And they're nice apartments, and they got at least some of them have great view, a great
breathtaking
view.
views.
Yeah,
Yeah. Some of them have 4 bedrooms.
So
The
then
friends that lived in
it's the
one.
pleasure of the commission to do nothing at this point with this
I think we should-
recommendation.
We'll
Can I,
continue this until the next meeting.
can I ask for 1 or 2 volunteers that would be interested in attending the Development Review Committee? We'll still set one up and schedule it during the day
Actually, any
with
two
department
commissioners
heads
can
and
do it.
applicant.
Any two commissioners, I think, the way the wording
Yeah.
was, can do it. Because we've had to have some people stand in for another
Yeah.
commissioner that couldn't do it, so.
And
I'd
they would
be-
have the understanding that we're not approving it, we're just,
No.
Just so you're up on the discussion up to that
Well,
point.
actually,
Yeah.
and I find that just having a pre-meeting, even before it goes to the commission, it can address some of the concerns
Yeah.
before it hits this body.
yep.
Right.
So I think it'd be, probably, applicant would probably appreciate that, and,
Think so,
you know.
too.
So Commissioner Sears will be in touch.
Yep,
You
So the
too.
consensus is the
temporary.
right. Yeah, the consensus is the permanent designating of the commissioners is going to be moved to the next
Are
meeting.
we the only retired ones on the commission? We're the only retired people on the
Yeah.
commission?
You are. You are.
There's been a number of years where I was the only person who wasn't retired on the commission. So, okay. So that's that for that item. Moving on to director's report.
Yes, I have several. I have several items to mention here. First of all, the new KFC drive-through is quite problematic.
As I mentioned.
It's so far it is thus far inadequate. The stacking is too few
There is no
cars.
stacking.
And the property seller and owner has visited last week as well and acknowledged that this is a problem. So I'm proposing to set up an informal task force to review the question, meet with the applicant and such, and see if there are other design or other operating solutions that can be arrived at to alleviate some of the congestion. Secondly, we're moving forward with the South Lincoln annexation and the South Oroville rezone project, which this commission discussed about 2 months ago. We have set up a public meeting, a neighborhood meeting on both topics. This meeting is January 14th. It's a Tuesday evening. It's going to be at the African American Family Cultural Center, and our student intern Connor here has done all the arranging for that. We think 6 p.m., might be 6:30 p.m. Third, the January 23rd Planning Commission meeting is slated to be pretty busy. At that meeting, we'll bring to you then this Riverbend Family Apartments project. The sign ordinance update that's been long requested, we'll have that ready for you in January. we will have a new sign and facade permit application for Miners Alley, which is in the historic downtown district. It's due to be renamed the Union, and after the historic hotel that stood there before. So as the Historic Advisory Commission, this body will discuss. Has it? Is it up? Oh, all right. Also, the city council will hear the tobacco ordinance at its January 7th meeting. So at that time, the council will decide what their desire is on this banning of flavored tobaccos. I'm hoping that one or two planning commissioners attend that meeting to talk about the planning commissions. The 7th.
I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't think I should be there.
Well, hopefully. That would be great. 'Cause there's a benefit. I had originally asked when I planned on going if Commissioner Britton or someone else could go, because just in case couldn't make it, but there's a benefit to having two commissioners there. There just is, to have multiple viewpoints.
So that concludes director's report.
Thank you. I did want to, moving on to commission reports, and I just wanted to throw out there that comment that I made in regards to the project, the Riverbend project, about not helping poor people, that was sarcasm. I just wanted to make sure in case somebody saw that and didn't realize that was sarcasm. It's just because that sometimes seems like that's the attitude of some people.
Did we resolve?
Your mic's not on.
Did we resolve whether or not any of us are going to go to that meeting anyway and observe?
Well, I think that the two of you were.
I wrote down that
Okay.
Commissioners Britton and Sears.
You don't have the date for it
Durling and
yet.
Sears, I think.
You don't have the date for it yet?
Oh, the Development Review Committee meeting? I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, Durling and Sears. We don't have a date for that set.
Okay, so you'll let us know.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Sears, was that your only question?
Yes.
Okay. Were there any other commissioner reports? Okay, then moving on to adjournment. Oh, Commissioner Drum?
No, I just, Butte County Development Services had a meeting for all the builder type people. And I attended that meeting. It was pretty lively. A lot discussed about permits and process and everything. And I raised a couple of questions from a planning standpoint. And it was actually the biggest discussion was on the points that I raised.
Troublemaker.
And I won't get into it now, but my point of bringing it up now is that I think those kind of meetings, I don't know if we have policy or anything that one of us should attend in order to have a better understanding what the county is doing in terms of building and construction and planning and all of that. And I thought I'd just bring that up now to think about. I try to, I worked for the county for 7 years, so I know the system and how it works.
Are they doing things that overlay?
Yeah,
County almost
do
always
we
does.
overlay? You bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good point. If we could, because you got a notification because you had previously been a planner with the county. That's why you
Yeah,
got.
I'm on their,
Could-
I get emails from them all the time about what's going on.
Does the city get contacted by the county in regards to meetings like that?
They didn't while I was there.
I have not been receiving such, but
Well.
I can call over there and we can try and
If you
get on
can
the
do
list.
nothing more than get on their email list so that you know what's going on.
That's what I was going to suggest. I think that would be good if the county is doing meetings like that and things like they, out of courtesy, they should be contacting Oroville's planning department. I'm sure they contact Chico's planning department.
do.
Oh, yeah. you know, they like to treat us like the redhead stepchild over
We
here,
are
but.
now the second largest city.
But if we can make, you know,
I just think it's,
politely insist that we're on that, you know, we get contact about things like that, and then the planning department can talk to the commission about having commissioners, a commissioner go to represent.
it'd kind of be, see, I was there de facto. I mean, I wasn't there as a planning commissioner, or wasn't representing the city or planning commission or anything, you know. But it would be nice if me or somebody from the commission was sitting there and it was recognized that
Right.
we're here officially,
For more of
Yeah.
that,
you know. And that's where I'd like to get to.
So what were the kind of things they were discussing?
Yeah, I'm curious about
Oh,
what
you don't want
discussion. Just an example.
you don't.
Well, if you were there in official capacity, you'd have to give a report, so go
come on.
ahead.
Well, they had, didn't consider at all the setback issues. They have, for example, you have to be 50 feet away from the property line to build because of fire. Well, what happens if you have a lot that's only 100,
Yeah,
100
south side, hello.
by 160, okay? Basically, you've created undevelopable lots.
Yeah,
And so, I asked the question, have you created a database of those kind of lots in the fire-prone areas and notified the people that there might be a problem? Oh, they didn't think about that. And I'm going, you know, to myself, I'm going, I can't believe this, you know.
I
And so-
can.
Huh?
I said I can.
I can too.
Yeah, I mean, but I wasn't there, since I wasn't representing the planning commission, our planning commission, I didn't feel that I should be as strong as I wanted to be about it.
Yeah, you should have just done it.
And set up a meeting so that I could meet with the staff to make sure it gets done. Because a lot of what might happen there might be in our city limits.
Right.
And yet, no consideration is given. That was one of the issues, and it's quite a long debate about it,
Yeah, I can imagine.
so.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Good job.
If there's no other commission reports, then we will adjourn to January 23rd, 2020, 7 PM.
And can I say something without casting dispersions on the staff?